everybody. So good to see you. Welcome to our Kundiman 20th anniversary reading at the New Orleans Poetry Festival. Yeah. What a great crowd. My name is Cathy Linh Che. I'm the executive director at Kundiman and also a poet. I want to thank Kundiman staff for helping me put this event together and supporting it, especially Gina Chung, Shirley Kai, Christy Louis, and Amara Obermeyer. Kundiman is a literary nonprofit organization dedicated to nurturing readers and writers of Asian American literature. Through workshops, regional group gatherings, our annual retreat, and events like this one, we uplift storytellers and create spaces for writers and readers alike. Over 250 fellows have attended our annual retreat at Fordham University's Rose Hill campus in the Bronx. And those fellows have published nearly 400 books since Kundiman's inception in 2004. So I was a Kundiman fellow in 2010, and at that time, I think nobody had a book. And I was like, oh my gosh, all of us have books now, it's amazing. So as I mentioned, this year we're celebrating our 20th year. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Kundiman Forever, Kundiman, and learn about our upcoming events at kundiman.org. To stay in touch, feel free to sign up for our newsletter on our website, and we are always welcoming support and donations for this amazing organization and cause. So together, today, we will hear short readings from each one of our writers, 7 in total, so you can mentally prepare. People who all attended the Kundiman retreat and have been part of our community, dear parts of our community. There, in addition to taking craft classes with faculty, we build lifelong community bonds with one another through dance parties, karaoke, nail salons, tarot readings, and knitting for the introverts. So we grew our lineup upon learning that how many Kundiman fellows would be here. Thank you, Tiana Nobile, for sending us a message calling forth people to New Orleans. So we're just so grateful. So we might not have time for a Q&A. We'll just do the reading instead, therefore, our format. So I changed it. So some of the readers will have books for sale. Feel free to approach them in a kind, friendly, and not creepy way. And after the reading, I'll introduce each reader in between, total of 7, 5 minutes each. And our first reader is Serena. Yeah! Serena Chopra, a teacher, writer, dancer, filmmaker, and visual and performing artist. Her third book, Daiwati of Mercy, is forthcoming from Grey Wolf Press in 2026. And Serena and I met at the 2010 Kundiman retreat 14 years ago, and I distinctly remember how much she danced at our closing party. Please welcome Serena.
I'm really happy to be here with so many poets, to read so many writers that I admire. I hear somebody speaking behind me. Do you all hear that? Okay. Oh, they're right there. They're behind the curtain. Okay. Anyways, yes, it's a real honor to be here. Yes, I don't have any particular memories of Kundiman because it was so long ago, but I just remember the energy being really important for me at that time and really vibrant, and I laughed a lot and danced a lot. So yeah, I'm really happy to be here reading with you all. It's so good to see you all. I'm just going to read 2 quick poems. I'll be less than 5 minutes from the book that's forthcoming. Seduction After the Great Plains. Across the stage, a birth chart of weightless deviations, each body filling itself on a canon of lusting. Constellate me, untense me, give me into the last resort sinew, bone at the cool glory of my sexy clarity, stop motion as a strobe-lit prairie. Watch me in the mirror, lightning, water is furious conjunction, lag lines of an evaporated spill. I arch sternum and spread leg, no better than to keep dearly in the empty pockets of pussy commodity. I take copper under my tongue, wade the pool, channel the night shift through an electric campus of roving mothers, meaning under the stench of men and cigarettes, I am foul-mouthed blood, a whole world laid with shaved pearl so. When I dance, you read what you can see, my eyes turned beneath heaving, light-caught rhinestone on lashes, is a spin, a swerve, a veil. I am not here with you or for me, like jaw-clinched knots in my throat. I cut this circulation of barter and tend. I bring tender, I do better, I lick the wound and enter, letting the tongue split and wander there. Seduction after nocturnal prey. Flat, flat land, dust in our eyes, staring at the lust of the mountains, Western interrogation of our flatness, staring at the sun, staring at the black leaning at our windows. To make inside that blackness $1 million, a woman of cosmopolitan seduction, to whom I give my girlhood nickname and leave red kiss on the threat of night. And to myself a stolen state of calm, icy purple lips of too early crocus. I always begin with the moon in each spiral. I know that, leaning here as I am in the lap of a lap dance, I withstand a lineage, suffer some sort of guilty comfort. Is it labor turns a girl into woman? Is it the thought of distant seasons? I first knew of broke women with yet another dead engine before I knew what it meant for her kept in perpetual dowry. Does this violence embarrass you? Excess is a shadow suffered when what wins over the eye like velvet instigation, the cool night tripping over crickets. But we are still the immigrants who made it, quiet home, fences. When coming home at 4 a.m. to a dead bird in the kitchen, blood like a snapped seam of sequins, feathers, and the cat already sleeping. Guilt, what nest have you made in my throat, feeding from the winter keep of my heart? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Serena, for those stunning, powerful feral poems. Our next reader is Sally Wen Mao. She is the author of The Kingdom of Surfaces, which came out this past fall, and Nine Tails, which is coming out in May, a short story collection, Mad Honey Symposium and Oculus. She is a dear friend at the Kundiman retreat, where I met her. There was a lot of sweating, dancing as well, and I believe there was karaoke, so we are travel buddies who met during that retreat. We're in the same home group together, which meant, we frolicked in the garden together as well. There's like the New York Botanical Garden. So please welcome Sally.
Hello, hi. Hi, good morning. So my first Kundiman retreat, 2008. I was like a college student at the time. I remembered meeting Bei Dao, who I thought he was dead, but he was actually alive. And so I jumped at the chance to talk to Bei Dao. I remembered I asked him what should I do after college? And he told me that I should not go to Shanghai, I should go to Beijing because, anyway, and then I went back in 2010. I regard those years as my pre-brain development years. And then my next retreat was 2010, and then I waited a long time until 2018 to go back, and then I graduated last year. I cheated because I did 2 genres, fiction and poetry, so that's why I got to go to the retreat 4 times. I'm definitely definitely feels like Kundiman shaped my entire like existence as a writer. Like in 10 years, I published 4 books, or you know, and it's like I don't think that would have been possible without Kundiman, because I met all of these people who were doing this with their lives, right? So I'll read 2 poems from the Kingdom of Surfaces. Loquats. In the spring, they ripen and swarm the trees, the waxy little fruits that resemble bald heads. I collect their remains, piebald, sweet and sour. A syrup made of loquats is said to cure cough. Their woolly twigs splinter in pear blight. I am bereft when I eat them all. My throat and heart always sore. Whenever I got sick, my mother used to skin yellow loquats, but they tasted better with the skin on. This season, my cough grows and grows. There is a tree or a fungus in my chest. I once kissed a man in the hollow, a tattoo of a tree stump on his chest. I counted the rings to 100. His memory broke against my cracked phone screen, like waves against the sutral baths. In different years of my life, 2012 and 2017, 2 men with the same name fucked me. Futility was their name. Their bald heads, their kisses, the spittle of spite crawl into me, refusing to exit. At the herbal medicine store, the most expensive item is cordyceps, or worm grass, dead caterpillars whose brains become host to a fungus that rots them from the inside out. Good for the lungs, a panacea for all pain, the saleswoman pitches. I am wormgrass, expensive, but brain dead, comatose in my love, my refuse. Futility fuels my every waking hour. The tree inside me isn't loquat, but strangler fig. A tree so pretty and snake-like, it renders you breathless, then worthless, all at once. And I'll read an excerpt from this next poem. It's called On Silk, and Jane requested this poem because I mentioned her in it. Yes. On Silk. In her garden, Empress Leizu watched the fat white worm feasting on the mulberry leaves, its mouth a gutter, a hole. A maw so consumed by consumption, it falls through a hole it has eaten into her teacup, and once steeped in that bitterness, the silkworm unravels, retching spools and spools of thread, soft as magnolia, fragrant too. And the Empress remembered a childhood hunger so great it turned red, like the mulberries in the summer between her fingers, how she picked them in the woods one day, how her hunger turned her spit red as she was sated. So she rescued the worm from drowning and ordered a grove for its endless feast. And that night, all she dreamt of was harvest, a grove for the mulberry trees, a loom for the threads to refuse. A vat of dye for the white to soak in, a factory full of girls, as this was women's work. She knew something beautiful as silk required sacrifice. So she planted the seed, pulped the pupa, reaped the dream, a garden full of maiden silkworms, growing fat but never growing. In my travels, I wore thrifted silk dresses. The material grew damp with fishy sweat. I wondered about the previous wearers, where they went and what they did. I gave my dresses to my poet friends. Jane wore my green silk dress, gathering mussels in a tide pool. In my dream, the silk jacket from my childhood tore against the branches in the high winds, then floated skeletal, like a body in a river. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sally. That futility line made me... We're on live stream, so there's like my guffaw. And this is for the archives, too. It'll be archived. Sorry to have put that pressure on you, audience. Our next reader is Tiana Nobile.
Right.
The author, Cleve, is a Korean-American adoptee and founding member of the Starlings Collective. She lives with her family in New Orleans, Louisiana, and has historically around the, well, I don't know if it's a secret, maybe I'll just say her crawfish boils are amazing, and also a dear friend who we also attended the 2010 Kundiman retreat together, and I believe we also frolicked in the Rose Garden together. So please welcome Tiana.
And we got really lost, do you remember? Yes. I think we couldn't find our way back to the entrance for a while at the Botanical Garden. Thanks, it's really lovely to share space with y'all for the first time in a long time. As Cathy mentioned, I'm a Korean adoptee, and as a child, I really didn't have access to Asian American community, so Kundiman has become a really sacred space for me. So I'm gonna read a poem in my book where I imagine the adoptee as kind of a test subject in a laboratory and breaking free out of the cage. Harlow's monkey. We learned to give ourselves away early on. We used to hide the bruises, used to scratch our arms until they bled, until our body was a weeping wound. The cage exists only in our mind. Kick down the door, matchstick. Whether of wire or terry cloth, we all burn the same. We gasp for air and taste the bitter juice of roses, petals dried and clipped to the pages of our chest. At the feet of our gods, we pile our bones, muscles threaded to flesh. The fresh liquor of unchained thought burning the roof of our mouths, we take back our tongues, drink handfuls of water. In what shallow grave will we bury the words we killed? Amani, Abaji, Daejeon, Moon Young-shin. We deliver them to the dirt mother and her family of worms. The past mushrooms and burns in atomic flush. We sling a new sun from the pit of our stomachs and raise our woolly hands, fingers clenched. I think another thing that Kundiman has taught me is the power of solidarity. So that being said, I want to acknowledge the ongoing genocide that's happening in Palestine and read a poem by friend and Palestinian poet and Kundiman fellow Tariq Lithun. We already know this. There is more to us than what was taken from us. A place to call home, land of olive trees and their branches, Palestine. There, I've said it. I want to be sure everyone knows where my parents hail from. Each of us needs a place to return to. Genocide. I would hope everyone knows did not start and did not end at the Holocaust. I haven't forgotten that everyone needs a place on this planet. And I prefer to live where I can leave the doors unlocked, or live without the doors, or hell. I don't even care for walls, but I do care for the blues, water, the sadness that comes when it is not within sight. I don't know if there is a child anywhere on this earth that wasn't at least once held by their mother. Water, where my mother held me until I was given to land. Oh, firm land, how my father holds me. People keep calling for blood to dress you in it. I don't think any of them know, truly, how much of it the body can take, how much the body can lose.
Thank you so much for your amazing work, Tiana, and also bringing Tariq's voice in the room and the necessity of calling for a free Palestine. Our next reader is Soam Patel. Soam is the author of the poetry collections To Afar From Afar, Ever Really Hear It, and All One in the End, Water. And also, I met Soam at the 2010 Kundiman retreat, as I think Soam had graduated out, but he can come back, was like a fellow liaison, and I remember was the videographer for that retreat, and sort of coming all around. So Everybody please welcome Soam.
Thanks, Kathy. I wonder what happened to that flip camera.
I know.
So this is a poem from my new book. It's called We Can Sing to Assemble New Unmoved Empires. We can sing to assemble new unmoved empires. We can count pills fast as my pharmacist laughs. We can wake up better filled with dough than sorrow. We can extend the lunch hour to match a pollinator's pace. We can go live in an ashram, write about the country life. Live! We can rummage in front of reference materials. We can take trains, but only when we travel. We can shout in the rotunda all night. We can cellar shelve ourselves underground. We can move over to pronounce wreckages with tongued consonants. We can be careful to transfer signals from one tongue to another. We can understand that the signals are equal to silk or sky. We can be this breath, and this one, and this one, and this. We can make drawings of horizons meeting fields with watercolors. We can wave at a city by water, my heart. We can paint our faces so well. We can wait to see the new moon. We can protest, litter our victory, force through the watering traffic. We can watermelon emoji. We can post and share and like and post and share. We can boycott. We can arrange teachers. We can donate monthly automatic withdrawals from our bank accounts to doctors without borders. We can stop dropped fire on lived-on fields. We can learn to the oil co-execs in suits what to do new. We can shake a schoolhouse brick by brick. We can comfort and come and go like the weather. We can weaken and not just on the weekends. We can widen with riverbeds and dry, shift our shapes. We can say yes and, but then, thank you.
Thank you, Soam, for your words and your amazing performance. Yes, we can. We can do all that. Our next reader is Angela Peña-Redondo. Angela is a queer, non-binary, and interdisciplinary Filipinx poet and educator and the author of Nature Felt But Never Apprehended, All Things Lose Thousands of Times. All Things, I must have wrote, All Things Lose them. Oh, okay, good, I did it right, sorry. All Things Lose Thousands of Times. Angela, the first time I saw Angela perform, I believe, was at the inaugural Literoki, which is a literary karaoke event. And it was fantastic. It was like Two Peaches, and it was like the best performance ever. And Angela graduated out of the retreat with Sally this past summer. So everybody please welcome Angela.
Hi everybody. Thanks for that memory, Kathy. I completely forgot about that. I slept in a gas station before the. Not that I slept there and lived there, but I was so tired. But before I read for that Literoki, and I was nervous. So that's a weird thing to do, right? To sleep at a gas station, but I did before I got there, and I was so nervous to sing because I don't do karaoke, which is very sad for my family to hear because I grew up with them doing karaoke and they hate it when I don't want to join in on them. So singing for that was like really nerve-wracking. So I'm glad that the memory was good. But yeah, when I think about Kundiman, I can't think of a specific memory. It's just this like flood of feelings and images because it's such an incubation of spirit, and there's just so much like amazing writers that go through there. It's just mind-blowing. So yeah, it's so energized, and also there's just so much stories that come across in history. So I think of Kundiman like that kind of incubation. Okay, so I'm gonna read two poems from Nature Felt But Never Apprehended. This one is titled Transmitter Signals from a Young Brown Feminist. Dear queer choreography, Moro folkloric dance moves to Madonnas like a virgin. And dear gay immigrant child raised in the 90s, not to be mistaken for digital natives who obsess over throwbacks, Prince of Bel-Air and metallic balloon pants turned jungle Asia Monstera print. When gasoline was under $1, minimum wage $3.75. When DHS once split to form a three-headed beast. Dear competition of high feminists, wooden abanicos like knives, pair of jaunty sunbursts, stilettos not on the cover of the Zaragosian, but instead veiled in funerary Sunday chic. Dear limbs of my women, so much drama decentering comeuppance. Dear archipelago swag, techno versions of diasporic applique, didn't claim citizenship until 25, after years of teenage nerdom, in wet and wild lips, teased bangs at junior high skating rinks, talent for Slash carnival show. Then puberty came like Bobby Brown's No Prerogative. Dear festival of another virgin, in black biker shorts, raptorial nails and slumber parties, Ferris wheel it over a soccer field. Dear coarse summer grasses, church basketball courts, and radio hits on police brutality. Dear you who question who could live as a boy, as America's brown pop stars in fake leather, Art Deco neck chains spelling out your first girlfriend's nickname, their mohawk black hair, skin of cassia, eyes like Pisequa. Dear self who ran far away, who could not be father's son, father's right mind, even with a penciled Zorro stash, rolled cameo sleeves, wing-tipped taxi dance hall shoes. Liberated sluts laugh, clasping your uncle's arms like doves. Creeping false holy, dear Providence under pressure, culture vultures, belly bulging with trapped love, ancestral grief, saints of transmission, healing queens to believe in, painted beside princes, poet Aranistas unusual and rare, writing into existence a pantheon of God XX. And I'm sorry this mic keeps going and I'm like trying to follow it down. Anyways, that was weird. And now I hear my voice. I hope that was okay, the volume was okay with that. I'm thinking of Tiana's reading of Tariq's work, and Tariq was in my group, so that's really awesome. The last time I was there with Sally, and so I'm just thinking about that, and so I want to share a quote, sort of in lieu of that, and it's by the scholar Neferti Exem Tadiar, and she writes, "In the revolutionary movement, such surplus can be found in the form of surplus life that is produced through rituals of radicalized grief in the invocation of what I call divine sorrow." And I'm just gonna read for a time, because I get really nervous that I'm reading too long, and I'm just gonna read an excerpt of something I can't find.
You can do it. We'll take our time.
Okay, so this is softening as oh no, it's titled Tattoo as Softening Ritual. And I'll just read one page from it. A healer lifts a burning bowl of copal, touches its edges to their forehead as they tell me of when they lived in the global south. Curanderas mistook them for their local indigenous woman. Chestnut skin, wide nose, dignified like aspects of their shaved head. They chant behind smoke of gold resin. In the Philippines, ancestors burn native copal from the Agathis damara tree, now endangered. Tree gum holds a history of forest collecting. Bone, bird, insecta, fur, leaf, pod, wing venation, media, costa, radius, crossvine, cubitus, juggle, sap, and archive. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Angela, for your amazing poems and that quote. It's just really important to, what is it called? Is it divine grief? No.
Divine sorrow.
Divine sorrow. Thank you. That's something, helpful for all of us, so thanks for that gift. Our next reader is Jane Wong. Jane Wong is the author of the memoir Meet Me Tonight in Atlantic City and 2 poetry collections, How Not to Be Afraid of Everything and Overpour. And Jane and I met at the 2011 Kundiman retreat, and we have, over the years, eaten a lot together, and I've stayed at Jane's place quite a bit in Seattle, so it's a pleasure and an honor to know Jane. Everybody please welcome Jane Wong.
Hi everyone, it's such a joy to be reading. My Kundiman memory, it's like a funny one. I apparently missed the 2010 year. I was a year late somehow, but I was so overwhelmed. I had just finished my MFA at Iowa, which was a toxic place, and so I really needed that community. And the story goes is that I showed up to Kundiman the first day, and everyone was like hugging each other and saying hi and just being so gentle. But I actually ran away that night. I was gonna leave because I was like overwhelmed by the sweetness of everybody. So I literally did. I actually ran away during the middle of a group activity, went to my room and like shut the door and was like, I'm out, I'll leave in the morning. And there were these like little love notes being passed underneath my door that just said like, take the time you need, or like, I hope I see you in the morning, or like, we love you, whatever's going on, we love you. And I was like, what? And I was like crying, and I was like, wait, why is this happening? Why is everyone so nice? Anyway, trust it, I guess. Anyway, yay Kundiman. I'm gonna read 2 poems. The first one is kind of like one that kind of takes place in the near future-ish. It's called Dream Daughter with Onions. My dream daughter is chopping onions. She has been chopping for hours, slipping off the skin like tea-colored lingerie, slicing them thinly like the rings of some beloved planet. As she chops, she nudges them to the side, a growing mound of interlocking circles, measuring the wide circumference of all her selves. With each onion beheaded, her hair grows sweaty with a sharp armpit smell, with a stinging sweetness in the tempered center. Each long strand of hers unraveling behind her 2 large ears like mine. Gramophone-worthy, queen-worthy, I look at her wayward strands dangling about like lampshade poles. And I pull at my own willowing hair, for who doesn't desire beauty you can call yours? Did you know, I tell her, that back in the day, onions used to make people cry? That sometimes, and she stops me right there, her hand held high with her knife, shining like a winning moon, she tells me gently, dirt loosening each bulb, let's keep bad men out of this poem, and she just keeps chopping. Last night after karaoke, Tiana, we were back at Tiana's place, and I was eating oranges, like, on the ground. Anyway, I was thinking about that. So I'm gonna read a little orange poem. It's called What is Love If Not Rot? My grandmother struggles with eating fresh food. Like she eats rotten food oftentimes because she doesn't want to waste it. So I told her, I can buy you a good orange, you know, Papa. You know, I'm a professor or something, and I can like buy you a good fruit. And she's like, no. I'll just eat the ones that need to be eaten. So this poem's called What is Love If Not Rot? I've been watching videos of rotting oranges on time-lapse again. It's barely noticeable at first. The pores begin to grow, craters of no importance. After 14 days, the skin thins out, rice paper thin, wind thin, loneliness thin. At 15 days, spots bloom like newborn galaxies or a bald buzzard, circling, a shadow returning winter's wail. The skin puckers in on itself, all chimney ash, all brain matter mold. The middle like touching a young organ, slobbering milk and mud, a pedestal of goldenrod flora at 17 days. At 20 days, moss lumbers up and through, continents growing along this orb. Thickening at 22 days like cotton lint from the dryer, like fur, a sheepskin cloud like my mother, an animal in her own right, expanding. Now the color is phlegm yellow, pore yellow, growing smaller and smaller by 25 days, collapsing upon itself like curled fists. How I sleep at night, returning to heartbreak after heartbreak. Fruit flies fluttering about like snow. What is holding it up still? What is keeping it here? How can I bear to watch it? How can I liquefy by 45 days, wolfish in citrus murk, ever shrinking like every grandparent I've ever held hands with? At 85 days, how to hold this slush of bees trapped in no worldly amber. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you so much, Jane, for those luscious poems. And yeah, no more bad men in our poems. They're out, so thank you. Our final reader is Jess Wong. Jess is a poet, educator, and architect, and her collection, Slow Render, was published just a few weeks ago. First collection, everybody, please welcome Jess.
Cathy, and this book really wouldn't be possible without Kundiman. I'm so grateful for this community. It's changed my life in so many ways. And my Kundiman memories, I've been lucky to have my birthday fall during the retreat and to turn 25 and 29 with this wonderful family. And also to meet my birthday twins, Kyle Lushawu and Ira Sincongruan. And shout out to all the cancer signs. Thank you so much, Cathy and Kundiman and all the staff for how truly it felt like celebrating with family. I'll read two poems from this new collection. This first one also, I think, picks up on notes of silk, so thank you so much, Sally. This is Work Song is Silkworm, who renders each thread perfect, whole, life's work, and still only one of thousands strung up the loom, forming, in the best case, something lovely, but not always, and then, for whom? Not for the love of it, weaving their enclosures, defining interiority, on the cusp of transformation, then boiled and boiled to such soft uses, bending the used to the user, and we are meant to live with, build the entirety of our cultivations upon these antagonisms, which, used merely as metaphor, can be aimed at truth or against it, i.e., squashing witch spiders, wrapping cobweb over the wound. Yesterday, I inverted 2 Ziploc bags over my hands to meet the hefty worm whose translucence extruded this compost, but would not touch its body, would not say whose world it is truly, not mine, but theirs to the core in the thick mud slab beneath our foil city, beneath the beloved 1 p.m. ray slanting into this rented yard, managed by their despised economies, enriching the deranged soil. How easy to ignore their work. How easy to be the stiff, disgusted human shadowing their mulch, forming opinions, crafting image by covering the silkworm in mulberry leaves gathered by children who drink the silkworm stew, and while living alongside, do not make metaphor of the worm emitting an unbroken thread, moth breaking the thread to emerge as useless, or the arresting hand unraveling perfection from its dead. You cannot see the brokenness of others like your own brokenness. You are not sure whose side to take. Is the revolutionary the worm or the moth? Is my work the thread or its undoing? And I'll read this last poem, Excavation. First the flood, then sandbags on the embankment, dead-bodied bird, sack of woven plastic gorging on the earth inside. Then the sand mashed together and shaped in the sandbox, digging through the yellow worms, pointing down to China through the great, hot, sloshing interior. I had to know what lay under, narrow hole in the damp scooped out to my childhood armpit. I felt but could not see. Rubber, black, matte lining, root of the world. Then that first sprouting hair where there was none, held up to the mirror. Secret commercials convinced me to cultivate the smoothened self, what cocoons over the first image. But the archaeologist is unsure. It was that still and foggy time before language became the gate, and then the pit, and then my gate again. Why should I stand up, tear through the debris of molting skin? Thank you.
Thank you, Jess, for that beautiful incantatory reading. I appreciate it. And I want to give a shout out to Janice Sapigao, who is in transit in the air, so couldn't make it, but you are in the room with us, and will be at our next reading. On the panel with y'all, right? What time is it?
10:45.
10:45 tomorrow.
Oh, sorry.
Is that right?
No, that's incorrect.
11 tomorrow. And it's called sorry, but it's like alternative passageways. Yes, great. So you can see Janice there. Just look at the schedule. I'm gonna read just a final cap off bit from my children's book, An Asian American A to Z, a children's guide to our history, talking about the revolutionary activist history that is not known, and also, all the stuff that the U.S. has done to us and the world, but also other things too. So I just wanted to end with this last little bit. So this is the letter L. So usually I'm like, what letter is this? L. Very good. L is for labor, which first brought us here to ships, on ships to plantations in the early years. In California, bosses refused to pay workers fairly for picking grapes in the blazing heat daily, until Larry, Cesar, and Dolores joined hands. Filipino and Mexicans became part of one band. Black and Arab auto workers chanted "Free Palestine," showing we're more powerful together time after time. Let's stand with all workers calling out strike, united in victory. Unity is our might. Thank you so much for coming. Please talk to us, buy books, hang out. Happy New Orleans Poetry Festival. Take care. Be well.